young age that their Prince Charming will come, sweep them off their feet, and they will live happily ever after in their own personal fairy tale. For some girls, though, this isn't the case. The dark evil of relationship abuse lurks in the eyes of their so-called prince. According to the Huffington Post, nearly 60% of young women have experienced some kind of relationship abuse. Abby was a typical 17-year-old girl. Beautiful with long brown hair, she was involved in everything at her school. She was just finishing up her senior year when this new boy moved to town. He was handsome and a star athlete. Her being head cheerleader and president of the student council, on top of maintaining a high grade point average, made him immediately attracted to her. They started talking, and after a month, they started dating. At first, everything was perfect. He was the Prince Charming she thought she'd never find. Though he did have some bad boy qualities, she thought she could change him. It was a week before prom when they had been dating for almost 2 months when he snapped on her for the first time. She went to pick out her prom dress. When they hung out that night, she showed him a picture, and he snapped, telling her that it was too revealing and asking her why she wanted to look like a slut. This was just the start of the name-calling, controlling behavior. Over the next 3 months, he hit her multiple times over ridiculous scenarios and kept calling her names. Her mother noticed Abby's unusual behavior and finally confronted her daughter. Abby spilled her guts and they got help. Though it was the scariest experience of her life, she worked through it and made it through relationship abuse. There are multiple signs that someone is being abused. If they are usually a happy person, but now they're starting to fall in depression and don't talk to anybody but their partner, if they have unexplainable bruises or check their phones constantly, they may also have to answer every call or text in a certain time limit. If they don't, they may start freaking out and breaking down. If they have cuts or strangle marks that are not able to be explained. There are many different types of abuse as well. Emotional, physical, and sexual are the most common. Emotional abuse is when your significant other humiliates you all the time, acts different in public than they do in private, calls you hurtful names, threatens to leave you, and never gives you any credit. Emotional abuse has been known to mess with the person that is getting abused's mind. Emotional abuse is also said to be the most disruptive of the person's body, because even though bruises can go away, memories never fade. The next type of abuse is physical abuse. This type includes pinching, pushing, hitting, biting, strangling, and stalking. Threatening is also a popular tool used to intimidate one in a relationship. The abuser would say, "I will hurt you, your family, if you don't do what I want, or I will kill you." The next type is sexual. Sexual abuse is when a person is forced against their will to perform sexual activities with their abuser. The abuser may refuse to use a condom, be extremely rough, and keep going even though they are told to stop. A type of sexual abuse is verbal, making sexual innuendos with someone and making the person feel awful about them are common tools for the abuser to get what they want. Abusive relationships are hard to get out of. Many people hear stories about people in abusive relationships and think, why don't they just leave? I know I would if I was in that situation. Well, it's not that easy. There are many proactive steps one can take to escape an abusive relationship. The first step is probably the hardest, recognizing that you are in an abusive relationship. Many people are so blinded by love that when their partner does strike on them, they think it's just a mistake on their part, and that won't happen again. Next comes telling someone. Abusive relationships leave people feeling ashamed and embarrassed. By getting help, the one being abused is more likely to leave because of the fact someone knows about their situation. Next, make preparations. Don't just tell your abuser you're leaving. This will set him off and it'll only hurt you in the end. Make a plan. Leave in the middle of the night. Go somewhere safe where they can't find you or contact you. Make sure that you have a safe place to go and recover. Finally, see a counselor. By talking to a professional about the previous situation, one is able to relieve a big burden off them. If you feel afraid of your partner much of the time, avoid certain topics for the sake of not wanting to anger your partner has a bad temper, forces you to have sex, limit your money, cell phone calls, or car usage. If they tell you that what you can and can't do or wear, then you're probably in an abusive relationship. If you're scared for your life, if you leave, cry a lot and feel depressed, are treated like a servant, you find yourself turning to drugs and alcohol just to numb the pain, then you're probably in an abusive relationship. Abuse comes in all ages, genders, races, and religions. Nobody is exempt from the possibility of this awful wrong that's being done to them. So in conclusion, relationship abuse is everywhere. In today's way to prevent it, but there are ways to protect oneself. Just becoming educated and being a smart dater. Remember, even if he looks and acts like a prince, underneath he could be a slimy green frog.
5:24.